Guys, welcome to the new weekly outlook for the upcoming week. We will start with the economic news calendar as always. What can we see on Monday is that we have bank holiday for the USD, which means that the market will be slow. I'm not gonna trade personally because slow market, no volatility, the banks are not working, the institutions are not working, so it's just not worth it. Potentially barcode price action. On Tuesday and Wednesday we can see that we don't have any news, but the equities have built-in volatility, so that's what I'm gonna be focusing on after the 9:30 open. On Thursday we have the red folder news, so we have the news injection into the markets. And on Friday also no news, but I'm gonna be focusing on the equities open. So let's start with the BTC. We have the monthly close coming in the 7 days. We are rejecting from the monthly breakaway gap really nicely with a good wick. We have that push context from internal range liquidity towards the external range liquidity. But on the lower time frames we need to confirm that. But what's happening on the weekly? Firstly, we negated this small gap. We could have potentially set up the fair value gap right there, which will be really good for shorts. But if you close the weekly candle with a sweep on the previous week low, that's the opposing arguments for the shorts. So that can even be used as the narrative to move higher from that previous week low to the previous week high. But I'm neutral, to be honest, because the monthly is in the way for the longs and the previous week low sweep is in the way for shorts. On the daily time frame, what we can see is that we didn't have any proper displacement on the daily. This is just whole chop. We didn't have proper move down with the FEGs, except this small daily breakaway gap, really small. I'm not even gonna look at this one, but just no proper confirmations. I'm gonna stay neutral, even though the monthly is the highest time frame and the most strongest one. That's why I'm still favoring shorts, but I don't have the confirmations for any side, so that's why I'm holding off. Ethereum, on the other hand, is much weaker because it has that monthly breakaway gap context filled with the SMT from BTC, which means that the ETH is much weaker, and that's more favorable for the shorts. But it's also creating the weekly FEG in 10 hours. Also, the argument is that we are sweeping the previous week low, which is the bullish stuff, and it's not gonna be a good place. Plus BTC is basically the king of the market, and the rest of the market will follow what is BTC doing. So I'd rather just wait for the BTC confirmation for shorts before jumping the gun too early into the Ethereum trade. Solana is just insanely awful. You can see this price action. We're just sweeping the extremes of the range. We swept this extreme of the range, moved back lower to the previous week low. Now we are sweeping the previous week low. We may go to the previous week high depending on the lower time frames, but this is just chop. I'm not trading this because my FEG strategy will get chopped up in the consolidation. If I will trade this, I will focus on the externals of the range, which I will not see from previous week low, but rather from the swing points, because that will be the extreme of the range basically. ASTER is, I don't know what to say, disaster price action barcode. CZ is holding the floor basically, no proper movement, but hype is at the all-time highs, and I want to see ASTER get some move up. I'm invested into this, and basically hype is sending to the new all-time highs in this really bad state of the market, and ASTER is not doing anything, so the repricing should be soon. What's happening on the hype is that once we get the monthly closure above this swing high, we can start to expect new all-time highs, but if we sweep it, then we may back we may go back into the lower states of the market. That will be potentially weekly FEG, we'll see. But on the weekly candle and weekly time frame, we have the close soon, and if we close above the swing high, that's another argument to push us higher. We were invested from $29 since this weekly FEG as our buying zone with this overlapping array, and we are up like 122% spot buy, which is insane. But yeah, the institutional order flow is respected really well here. Weekly FEG internal towards the external, then new FEG internal towards the external, completed, then the next one completed. We swept the swing low inside of the FEG, which is a pivot context to push us higher, and we pushed higher. Basically, I would love to see the new weekly push, potentially to create new FEG, and that will align perfectly with the monthly close. We'll see how it goes. I'm expecting the new all-time high on Zs as well. Monthly is in the push context. There is no resistances anywhere right here towards the new all-time high. On the weekly, what I need to see is not sweep of this like we are doing so right now, but I need a proper close above this swing high, because then the arguments are non-bearish arguments until we go to the new all-time high. But if we sweep this week, even though we ran that previous week high, we may go lower back into the weekly FEG. I will really love to see closure above this swing high. The closure above previous week high is really good argument, but if we sweep this one, it's not gonna be as high probability as it could be. Let's go to the indices right now. They are absolutely sending from the monthly. We had this fair value area created to push us higher, which we are doing so right now. In 5 days we are gonna create the monthly breakaway gap right here, which means that this gap should not get filled and the next candle should be expected to push us higher. So bullish bias. Also, we have the weekly push context from internal weekly towards the external previous week high on both assets. And with the wick and the body closure, we know that on the lower time frames we are pushing higher. We have the bullish order flow pushing us higher to the new prices, new higher prices. But let's see what's daily doing. Daily is right now sweeping the previous day high, and we created these small daily FEGs. Because we swept that previous day high, the most obvious thing to do right here is to be external range sweep towards the internal as a draw. So early in the week we should get into these FEGs from this sweep on both assets. And then once we get into these daily FEGs, I'd love to see push higher from these levels to the new previous week high / new all-time highs. Basically, I won't play counter trend only intraday towards these daily FEGs, but this is a scenario. Sweep, external, internal range liquidity draw, and from internal towards the external the next draw. But yeah, this is looking really clean. Once we get into the daily FEGs, I would love to see 1 hour order flow shifting to the bullish side for continuations to the new all-time highs. Commodities are really chopped. They are not providing anything few months right now, basically in a range. We have the SMT on the gold with the silver. Silver is sweeping the previous month high right here, while the gold is not, which means it's weaker asset. Monthly close is coming soon as well. It will be really important to see how we close on the previous month low. If we close below that, we could eventually move lower towards this wick. And if you're gonna short this, gold is much more favorable to do so. But on the weekly, as you can see, this is just chop, nothing to do here. I will get chopped up here if I'm not trading externals of the range. But basically just change the asset to the trending one, like ES and NQ, because they are providing the good setups, while the commodities market are not doing so well. You just need to adapt as a trader. Look at this. The FEGs are constantly failing. That's the sign of the consolidations, and you need to focus on the externals of the range. And let's analyze the oil. It's also in a range. We have this monthly FEG, but with this huge wick and with the current wick on the monthly candle, I'm looking at this as a hidden breakaway gap which will not get filled. But this weekly close was really bad. We closed with a sweep on the previous week high, and we didn't went to this swing high, which is why we are back into the range. Maybe we can go to the previous week low if the lower time frames push towards there, but this is just range. We are now sweeping the previous day low. From the previous day low we could eventually move towards the previous day high to get a sweep and then to move lower. If we break above the previous day high, we may continue towards that new all-time high slash or this swing high that's on the weekly, this one. But other than that, if we get a run below those previous day lows, the previous week low is the draw. It's not interesting for trading right now, to be honest. Other than that, we went over everything. Let's see what's DXY doing. I was not watching that for really long time, but basically I'm not even watching it because look at this. I pointed it out. Almost more than a year of pure consolidation, and that's why Forex is behaving really bad, and why most of the Forex traders are coming to the futures, to the indices, which are basically the gentleman's market. They are following the structure really good. They have built in 930 equities open volatility. They have built in bullish bias. It's just the best asset to day trade. But this is the DXY state and why I'm not even looking at it anymore. So this will be it from the weekly outlook. Safe trading next week and see you next week. Peace.